Hello and welcome to a new video. This video is going to be a long one. If you remember in one of my previous videos with the Paul Rubens watercolours, I painted a Pikachu and a Mantike, I think it's called. I enjoyed drawing them so much for some reason that I then went onto my Instagram and asked you guys to suggest your favourite Pokemon. I got a lot of suggestions and the idea was that I wanted to draw them in this simple style. So for today's video, that is what I am going to be doing. I actually filmed this a little while ago now, but it took a long time to make and edit, and there have been things that have just gotten in the way. But yeah, I do about 92 Pokemon I think for this video, and to fit them all in, I don't know if I'm going to be able to give as much in-depth commentary on each Pokemon. I just kind of am jumping straight into it. I will try and say some things about a few of them, but yeah, I will put the name of the Pokemon in one of the top corners, I'm not sure which one yet, as well as the person who suggested it. And I want to say thank you, so many of you guys suggested Pokemon. Multiple Pokemon as well sometimes, which is cool actually. Initially I was just going to do one, but then I really liked the challenge of trying to draw every single one of them, and that is what I ended up doing, as well as throwing in a couple of my own just to fill space and because I wanted to draw them. But I was surprised in this video how many of my favourites were suggested, which made me very happy. So basically, the style that I am going for is it's basically just the Pokemon, but in a more simplistic style, which basically boils down to changing their eyes. I think there's only one Pokemon I don't do that for, because that was before I realised that that's what I'm doing. And you'll see it's Eevee later on. But for the most part, this soft slanted eye look that I like to do for my chibi character drawings, it looks so cute and I really love it. For some reason it just changes the whole look of the Pokemon. But to start, I was initially planning on having all 90. Well, not all 90. I wasn't planning on doing all 90. I think I said at the beginning. I was planning on doing at least 3 pages in my sketchbook, and try and cram as many Pokemon on as possible. So for the start of this video, I am drawing in my sketchbook. I end up only doing 2 pages, and I'm using my Ohuhu alcohol markers as well as the Ohuhu Fineliners. And I then later decide to swap to digital because there are a lot of Pokemon and I wasn't confident that I could fit them in my book in the most space conscientious way, whereas if I did it digital I could draw the Pokemon however I wanted and then move them around later, and so that works out. I think I end up doing 5 pages total, 2 in my book and 3 digitally. And basically I have kind of 3 steps to this. No, not 3 actually. Well, anyway, I start by drawing the Pokemon really, really rough and getting their general shape, then going in and adding the important details that make them stand out more. Then I loosely rub them out so that the alcohol markers won't pick up any of the pencil, and then I go in and colour them, add the shading, and then I line them with black. Unlike my other ways that I line things, I just wanted to do pure black because it just made it a little more simpler. Because I was going to be doing so many, I needed it to be as simple as possible. For most of them, I wanted their colours to kind of be similar, so there is no pure white. I made everything white, a sort of cream, except for on Rowlet, which I kind of regret. And then I did the shading for the white exactly the same, and I think it kind of just makes all of them more cohesive. There's that word again. And I just think it makes them look better together on the page. The fun thing about this is, in the past I have really struggled drawing Pokemon. Aside from just straight up copying whatever they look like in the image I'm referencing. I've always struggled drawing them in a way that is like unique to me, or like I could never draw them in a pose that wasn't referenced, so it never came naturally to me. And while the poses that I do for this video aren't exactly out there, I do like that it was easier, maybe because I was simplifying them so much. Yeah, I drew some Pokemon that I otherwise never would have drawn before, which was quite fun. I really liked the challenge of it. Like, I think this one's called Dragapult. I don't think I ever would have drawn this one. This one was really fun to figure out because a lot of the Pokemon have like very unique eyes. I was also curious like if giving them the simplified eyes that I'd chosen was going to ruin their design or not, because their eyes are, some of their eyes are very like important to the character design. Now Gengar was ridiculously easy. He's quite a very simple character. Giving him these kind of eyes just really suited him, and he's one of my favourites. I love how he turned out, and he was like really easy to do, so it was like a nice break. At this point I was starting to get a little worried about fitting them on the page, because there are a lot of blank spaces at the moment, and I was wondering if I had like paced them badly, because I wanted them to be as crammed as possible, which is why Wooper here is like he looks like a creepy little hunched over little guy, which I think really suits him actually. I think it's really cute, but I was shaping him to try and fit the space available, and it's why a couple of them later might look a little strange, because again I was trying to fit them into the space. Yeah, I was really happy with how a lot of them turned out. Magikarp here is one that I was really excited to draw, because although I don't use him much in the game, he is like one of my favourites just because he's got a nice design. He's just got a simple goldfish design, which I really like, and it's really fun to just mess around with, and seeing other people drawing them in like interesting designs and like logo styles online, it just makes me really happy. So I gave him quite a lot of space because I really liked how he could have turned out, and I like how he did turn out. Buizel was another one that I was really happy with how he turned out, because I was trying to colour match as much as possible, but I wanted them also to be very soft, because there are a lot of Pokemon out there that are just incredibly saturated, and Buizel was one that I was just really happy. I think it was because of the initial orange was so pale, and then with the cream for the white parts, it just looked so soft. How I wanted to go about for shading on basically all of the Pokemon is I wanted the shadows to be just a darker version of the main colour. I didn't do it so much for Garchomp because they are already quite a dark Pokemon, and they were the first one that I drew, so I didn't really have it down how I wanted to do each of them. You might have noticed that I drew Litwick. That is because both Lampent and Chandelure were suggested, and they are another one of my favourite like Pokemon evolution lines. So I was like, oh, I really want Litwick to also be here because I love them all. It felt mean to have him left out. So he's the first one that I added, and I really like how he turned out, and Lampent turned out quite cute as well. But Chandelure is one of the ones that I struggle with because they have quite a, well, it's not a complicated design exactly, but because I think the designs I like the most are the ones where they are quite bulky, and Chandelure has like the long arms with the other candles coming off of it, so I personally struggled with coming up with a way to make them look like a cute squidgy thing, if that makes sense. Like most of the other ones have like a big body of mass, but he doesn't. So Togepi here was an interesting one to draw. I thought they would be quite easy because they are just this blob. But initially I struggled a little bit. It was looking kind of odd. I then realised that giving them like shorter, stubbier arms really made them look a lot cuter. And I think I could have done a better job of Togepi, but I was so concerned about filling the space that I was like, if I rub it out again, it might not fit. so I just kind of left it as this really weird short-armed looking thing, but he turned out really cute. Togepi is one of those characters that when I was younger I was absolutely obsessed with, and I actually had this adorable little toy that I don't know where it is now that I've remembered it. Oh, I wish I could find it, but it was kind of like those octopus toys that were really popular for a while back on the internet, and they might still be. The octopus toys where you could turn them inside out and they are a different octopus on each side. And I had one of Togepi where it was Togepi's egg, and you could then unzip the egg, flip it inside out, and it's Togepi. So it was so adorable, and I used to love that thing so much, and I would play with it all the time. And now I'm really upset. I'm like, where did I put that? I wish I could find that. Caterpie is another one of my favourites, so I was really happy that someone suggested Caterpie, because I don't personally hear people talk about Caterpie as much as like some other Pokemon, so I was happy to draw that one. Ribombee was an odd one because they have very like thin arms and legs. I wasn't entirely sure they would look great with what I was going for, and I think they end up just looking like a copy rather than a stylized version, and I used them to fill this really tiny space that was like bugging me, so I think it worked out in the end. Then I drew Gastly, who is another one of my favourites. It is my favourite of the like Gengar line. I don't really know why, but I just love Gastly, and his cute little fangs always make me happy because they always like poke out, so I was really happy to draw that one, and I could shape the smoke how I wanted, so that filled the gap perfectly. So that is the end of the first page, and I wanted to do the other ones on the other side of the page, so I had to do it on a separate piece of paper because you could see that I had things on the other side anyway, and using alcohol markers it just would have ruined everything. So I started with Beartic, who is one that I was worried about because I don't know why. I think it was because it's not one that I personally like that much, so with the ones that I don't like, I always get worried. I was like, I don't know how to draw them in a way that I do like. But he ended up looking so adorable. He made me like so excited to start this page because he just ended up, he was so simple and so cute. I don't know what the fluff at the front of his legs is. I mean, I probably do, but I mean, it does. That's something I noticed while drawing all these Pokemon, is I don't typically question their designs, at least not that much, until I sit down to draw them, and then you're like, what is up with these Pokemon? What are they? Like, why do they look like this? And it is interesting if you just sit down and you actually look at their designs properly. There are some interesting thoughts that have gone into them. I then drew Vaporeon, who I think at this point is the second of the evolutions, and this is another thing. I was considering pretty much all of the evolutions got suggested except for I think Flareon, and there was a point where I was wondering if I should just draw Flareon and have all of the evolutions included, but I'm afraid I don't end up doing that because by the end of doing all of these I was very tired and I just didn't want to do anymore. But I really like how Vaporeon turned out. I think because whatever the thing around their neck is, I made it more soft instead of the like jagged lines that it has, and it kind of gave me like a ruffled vibe, and I just really like how that looks, especially because it is like pink, so in contrast to the blue of Vaporeon's main body. I just thought it looked really nice. Surprisingly, I didn't think it would look very nice, but it contrasted really well in my opinion. Is this Misdreavus? I can't remember. I'll put the names up on the screen, but whatever this one is, this is another one that I gave different eyes to because they do have quite unique eyes. They're like half-lidded, and I kind of thought it needed that rather than going for the simple eyes that I had been doing. I wanted to try and give it the eyes or closer to the eyes that it actually has, so that one looks a bit different. And then I think I do the same for, is it called Axew? For some reason I think I hadn't decided at this point that I wanted all of them to have that type of eye, so I give him a beaded eye instead, which I regret. I think he would look much cuter with the same type of eye that I was doing for everyone else, but for some reason I just didn't. And you might have noticed that there are like some shadows of pencils on the page. I decided to cut out most of the ones that I struggled with because this is a long video already, and I just wanted to show the ones that I finalised. So over by Axew there was some shadow of Vulpix because I initially wanted Vulpix to be there, but I didn't think there was any point showing that because I just end up rubbing them out, and you saw the process for Vulpix later on. Then I move on to Rapidash, who when I was younger used to be my absolute favourite Pokemon, as well as Ponyta. That might be in part because I grew up with horses, but they were a Pokemon I was obsessed with. And I can't remember if it's an episode or if it's a film, but there is that whole when Ash rides Rapidash in the race episode or whatever. When I was younger, I used to watch that all the time. I think it was because we also had it on DVD, so it was one of the few things that we could watch. But I always remember that episode, and I loved it so much because you had all the Ponyta as well, and that was a good episode. I used to love Pokemon so much when I was younger. And that was back when I used to watch that all on TV, so I got to watch it all the time, whereas now I don't really watch it anymore, and I only really play the games now, but then I've also stopped doing that. I think the last game I got was the Diamond and Pearl remake, and I won't lie, I was kind of disappointed. I think it was just because when I played the first Diamond and Pearl when it came out, I was so obsessed with it, and it kind of it blew my mind, and it was so magical to me that there was this impression of it in my head. And I do think it hasn't been ages since I played that game, but I do think it has been long enough that it was rose tinted in my eyes. Well, no, that implies it was bad, but you know what I mean. I had fond memories of it, so when the remake came out and I decided to give it a try, it felt very lacking, and I'm not entirely sure why. And I might go back and play the original and see if that is just how it always felt, but I don't know, I finished it so quickly and it just felt kind of disappointing. And then I think Legends Arceus came out, and I just wasn't really up for that kind of gameplay because it's now open world gameplay, and I'm not sure what it is, but they haven't exactly got it down in my opinion. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom have the open worldness. They've got it down in a way that I think is perfect. It feels like it's got Ghibli vibes, which for games like that I think is perfect, and it's kind of what I was expecting when I hear Pokemon open world, is something similar to Breath of the Wild and such. Instead, it just, their games now look very empty and broken, and I was considering at one point getting Scarlet and Violet. I was debating it at one point, and I'm glad I didn't. It is so buggy and broken, and part of me is upset because I'm if the world of Pokemon is now moving in that direction and that's where it's going to be, then I'm probably never going to play a Pokemon game again, which kind of hurts my heart a little bit because I love them so much. But it's also, people do like how they're going, the direction they're going, so I am glad that people are enjoying it. But for me personally, that might be the end of Pokemon in my experience with them. Yeah, I don't really see the films and the shows much anymore, so the games are really my only interaction with them. And I just think I'll probably just keep replaying the old ones again because they are so good. And I don't want to come across sounding like one of those people who are oh, the old games are better, so I'm not going to play the new ones. but that's just for me personally. The new ones just aren't my taste, so I'll probably just leave it. Although I am enjoying seeing the new Pokemon that are coming from the games. I'm not going to get into it the same way that I have in the past, which does make me sad. It feels like closing a chapter on my childhood. Moving on to Mudkip, who was just a joy to draw because I love Mudkip so much. He was just so funny to have him look like he was shouting, and having him next to Rayquaza just looks so silly to me because I didn't put too much detail in Rayquaza. I did keep him very simple because he has quite a simple design when you think about it. He's just a noodle, but having his giant image next to this little shouting Mudkip just makes me laugh a little bit, so I'm really happy with how that looks. Rayquaza was interesting because he was the first legendary I drew for this. I wanted his size to kind of reflect that he is a legendary, you know. I didn't want to do him too small, and I didn't think that would have looked good anyway, so he was fun to just use to break up the page. And then Jolteon up here, he is my favourite of the evolutions, so I am really glad he was suggested. Again, I used him to fill up this space as well, so he might look a little squished, but I also really love how he turned out, and he's kind of giving bunny vibes more than whatever the evolutions are. Are they considered dogs or foxes or something? Like, what are the evolutions compared to? I thought they were compared to something, but maybe I'm just thinking of the legendary dogs. Anyway, I then moved on to Corsola next, which was a lot of fun. Corsola is so cute. I did kind of just stick to their design, like their position and design that is when you look them up, but they turned out so cute. I don't know if I've ever actually caught a Corsola in the game, but their stories are so cute. Unless you read up their interactions with Marini, then it's kind of creepy and horrible. So Pokemon have really weird entries. Their stories, they're terrifying when you think about them. But yeah, here I am just sticking it into my book because obviously I want it to be in my book, and I think the pages look really nice together, so I'm really happy with how it turned out. There are blank spaces obviously, but yeah, I wasn't sure how to fill them. But at this point I was like, oh my god, I've still got so many left to do. That piece of paper you saw was the list of all the Pokemon suggested, so it was quite overwhelming at this point. So that is what helped with my decision in moving to digital, which I do think was the best thing for my sanity, because it also means I didn't have to wait for daylight. I could just draw whenever I wanted during the day. Because of how my setup is, I rely on natural light to get most of my filming done. So when I am then doing digital, it is kind of like a nice break for me because I can just do it at any point during the day. So yeah, I'm starting with Leafeon, who made me very happy, and I was like, yeah, I can do this. Because one thing I worry about is, because I had been doing it with alcohol markers, I was like, I'm still kind of rusty when it comes to using digital, especially when I leave it for so long. So my concern was, can I carry over the style that I've been doing? And thankfully it seemed to work out, which was really nice, especially with the colouring, because I'm not great when it comes to colouring things digital. But I really like how these turned out. And this Houndour, I think it's not Houndoom, I think this one's Houndour. He turned out so cute. He looks like this tiny squishy dinosaur thing, and he kind of makes me want to catch one in my next playthrough. He's not exactly one of my favourites typically, but how some of these turned out in this video really made me like look at them differently. So I really like some different Pokemon by the end of this video. So I have to thank you guys for suggesting them, because otherwise I probably wouldn't have drawn them. So now I'm drawing Umbreon, I don't know what number evolution we're on now, but when I was younger he was one of my favourites as well. I can't remember how much I liked him, but I think he wasn't a huge favourite, Most of the evolutions are, I like them because they're very well designed, they're very interesting. I kind of wish we could get more for the other types, but that's probably not going to happen because then it would get too confusing. Umbreon, I think the very first time I ever saw him was in the Latias and Latios film, and I was like, what is that? That's so cute. And I did also like Espeon, but Espeon also kind of scared me. If you've seen that film, you might understand why. It's kind of freaky, and I was like, that is just a creepy looking alien thing. And I like it more now I'm older, but it does still kind of hold that freakiness for me. So that's interesting to think about. And now I am drawing Haunter, which means I have done the entire Gastly evolution, which I didn't realise, but that is actually kind of cute to think about. And he was kind of awkward. I didn't do him justice, I don't think. I gave him this really weird shape, but yeah, he turned out okay in the end. I think it's also because his hands aren't attached to his body, so he looks like a very disjointed mess, but yeah, he turned out okay. Then I was on to, I believe, my second legendary, which was Lugia. I was very worried about drawing him. I was worried about drawing any of the legendaries because they are a bit more complicated than just typical designs, I think. Or maybe it's just because they're mostly bigger, but I love how Lugia turned out. He might be my favourite of the legendaries in this video. Once I got his basic shape down, I realised like this is going to be actually really easy, and Lugia is another favourite. When I watched his film, which I can't remember what it's called, it's not called The Movie, is it? I'll put it up on the screen if I remember, but he was always a really cool one to me. He always seemed like very like god of the Pokemon. I know he isn't, but because of how like he was in that film, and very much like he was like, I'll tell you what to do kind of thing, and I'm the one who fixes everything. He always had like this really cool big presence in my mind when I was younger, so I'm really happy with how he turned out, and I'm glad I actually like it because yeah, he's one of my favourites. It did kind of make me wish I wanted to draw all of the legendary birds, and I might do that one day. Zapdos is my favourite, not including Lugia. Yeah, I end up, because I draw Articuno later, but I don't draw Zapdos or Moltres, and I think that would have been interesting to see. So one of my methods that I've been using on the digital drawings, you've probably noticed, is after I've done the line art, I go in and colour the whole drawing in. I try and colour it with the colour that is the most present on the design of the Pokemon, and then I use the transform tool to select it, and then I can go in and colour it without worrying about colouring outside of the lines. It's a very handy tip and something I use often just because it means I don't have to worry about like cleaning up my colours later. And yeah, I highly suggest it. It's extremely helpful. Drawing Houndoom, or Houndour, whatever this one is here, was quite nice. I was worried about, he was another one I was worried about because the design is not my typical thing. I don't really like his original design, but drawing him like this squidgy thing here was really nice. I really like how he turned out, similar to his previous evolution, and I actually colour swatched the colours from the original one so that they would work well together because they are just the same colour. And this one, I think Hetterene, was quite easy. I kind of felt like I was cheating almost, because I was like, wow, that was just easy. It is just drawing the design it is, because you can't see this Pokemon's eyes, so I was like, I don't actually know if I've added anything to this, but I kind of classed it as just being like taking a break. It was just a nice easy one to focus on. So yeah, that's this one. So obviously I don't draw every single Pokemon there is, but I would be curious, obviously if you suggested these then you know that I have, but have I drawn your favourite in this video? I'd be curious to know what your favourite is if I haven't. If you like this video, I could see myself doing something like it again in the future. Obviously doing different Pokemon that haven't been in this video. I think it would be kind of cool to one day have drawn like every single Pokemon there is. I could always do that, but the only problem there is because this video is all over the place with the ones I've drawn. I wouldn't know if I should then redraw them or just like fill in the blanks of the one that I haven't drawn. Yeah, let me know. I hope this is a fun video for you guys to watch. It was fun to draw. It took a very long time, and it kind of sapped me of energy sometimes, but then it was also nice to come to when I wanted to zone out. So it was a mix making this video, but I'm so glad I did, because then, like I said, I drew a bunch of Pokemon that I've never drawn before, some that I really love, like Greninja. He's one of my favourites. He was my starter that I picked in X and Y. He was just so adorable to draw. Then I drew Furret next, and Furret's a funny one. They constantly make me think about that time years ago where I was drawing Dragon Age characters with Pokemon, and I was asking you guys, I was like, oh, which Pokemon do you think would fit this character? And someone suggested Furret for Sarah, and that was when I learnt the importance of looking up Pokemon's sizes, because for some reason I thought Furret was like the size of a ferret, but it turns out Furret is like a 6-foot beast. And I drew Furret on Sarah's shoulder, and she would have died in reality. She would have not lived. She wouldn't have survived that. So yeah, that's what I think of anytime I think of Furret now. Torchic here, I am in love with. The birds that I end up drawing, I think, are some of my favourites, just because I really love birds. Drawing birds are actually a lot of fun because they are bizarre. They are the weirdest looking shapes, and pushing that is just so enjoyable. So yeah, I really like how Torchic turned out, and I'm tempted to print them off and like stick them on my book at some point. I decided to do this all as one big video. I asked you guys, I don't think it was the last video, I think it was a couple videos ago, I said, how would you guys like to see this? Because this was a lot of footage. It was either like 12 or 16 hours worth of footage, and I wasn't entirely sure how I was going to make it into a video. A lot of you guys were like saying either one long video or 2 videos. You guys were being so nice because you were all saying that you're happy to see long videos, you just want to see like a lot of the art process, which I really appreciate. And I decided, as you can tell, to make one video, and I just wanted to like reassure you guys that there is like no footage missing. I did a long video so that you guys can see the whole process of everything, and hopefully you can enjoy it. It's just like something to zone out to. So here I am now drawing Darkrai. This one I did struggle with a bit because he is kind of a weird design, and I couldn't really see a way to simplify it, so I don't think he's the cutest. He kind of ends up looking a bit janky. I do think he is probably the weakest of all the ones that I've done. I don't know what to think of him. I think it's also because I could tell a big difference because I zoom in for the most part and I drew them quite small and then I would resize them later. But I can't tell, I drew him in a weird perspective or whatever the word I'm thinking of is, which meant the line art looked kind of janky. Like I think it looked too thick, which probably means that I zoomed in too far and I don't think it suited him very well. So I kind of think I did Darkrai a disservice. I really like how he turned out here. I think his little tiny hands just look so funny, and he kind of gives me similar vibes to Mudkip. I guess they are kind of similar in that they're these small water creatures with a big thing on their head and then a big tail, though I won't lie, I don't like the rest of Sobble's evolutions. I found that with the Sword and Shield starters, I didn't really like any of the evolutions that any of them ended up with, and it kind of makes me sad because I love to pieces their starter evolutions. They looked so cute, but then I just got disappointed by them all at the end. And I think it's something my brother pointed out a while ago, that when the evolutions start looking more human-like in shape, they kind of lose their like monsterness. Like it looks kind of weird in my opinion, and they start looking more like a human and less like a creature, which is interesting because I do like Incineroar and he is just a wrestler. He's just a straight up cat man, but I do think he's like one of the exceptions. There are a few where I think it's okay, but there are also some where I'm like, it's kind of just uncomfortable now, which might be why I like the blobbier, ugly things more than the human-shaped things. So that is kind of like what happened with the Sword and Shield starters, is that they kind of just ended up being people. With Mimikyu, I really like how he ended up looking. He was another one where I was like, is he just going to look like what Mimikyu looks like? But for his cheeks, I decided to give him swirly cheeks, which made me ridiculously happy. I really like how he looks with swirly cheeks, and it just added a uniqueness to the design that made me happy. I just really love the swirly cheeks, and I've been adding that to things lately, like my own personal creatures that I make and stuff, and there's something about it that is just so satisfying. It kind of makes me think of the Pose and the Po Boss from Wind Waker. That might be the first time I saw the swirly cheeks being used, and so now they just make me think of that. Drawing Delcatty, or Delkitty, I can't remember what it is. This is like a Pokemon that I've never been too fond of, but drawing them really made me dislike them more, because what are they? What is up with their head? their head like slots into their ears, and then the shape is so weird, like they look like an alien, and it really freaks me out for some reason. I do not like this Pokemon. Like, I was really indifferent to them before, but drawing them made me so uncomfortable for some reason, and I don't really want to look at them. Which is a shame, because I used to really love Skitty, which is their first evolution. They're one of the Pokemons when I was younger and I didn't really know how to play. Skitty was the Pokemon I would spend hours trying to catch, and it would genuinely take me a very long time to catch them. I would like dedicate my whole day to it. Them and routes, because I was really bad at catching Pokemon back then. I usually just played to look at the pretty creature designs, and I sucked at battles. I would die all the time, so I usually had to get my brother to catch them for me. But yeah, it's just a shame. I guess because I was so bad at playing the game, I never evolved Skitty. I don't know if they had an evolution from the get-go, but it's probably a good thing I didn't see the evolution, because I don't want to be mean, but I do not like that design. So now I'm moving on to, what is his name? Is it Machamp? I think it's Machamp. I always get these evolutions muddled up, their names. And he was a bit difficult. For some reason I was really struggling to draw his hands. He's another one that is basically just a human, except he has forearms, and he's just really muscular, which was surprisingly tricky to draw, because I was trying to keep them all in a simplistic style, and I feel like he could have been really easy to mess up, but I think I ended up with an okay simple style. Banette was interesting. I, for some reason, remembered them having a more complex design. I don't typically get them in the game because I think they come from that strange weather Pokemon. I don't remember what it's called. I never used them. So when I got around to drawing them and they're literally just one colour with a couple yellow accents, I was really like surprised, not disappointed, just I was expecting to do more with their design. And then we move on to Bulbasaur. He's just an all-round cute guy. I love Bulbasaur. One thing I noticed with him that because I gave him a mouth, is he kind of looks a bit like one of those Ditto versions, which might just be because of the eyes. And I'm wondering if they all, because of these eyes, do they look like they're Ditto variations? I don't know. Drawing Growlithe was really cute. He is another favourite, and he's one of those ones where I can never choose. When I need to have a fire Pokemon on my team, I can never choose between Growlithe or Ponyta, but he's just so cute. He's just a little dog, and I'm really happy he was suggested as well, because then we've got both Arcanine and Growlithe. And I just really, really like them. It might also be because of when I did my Dragon Age Pokemon crossover thing, and I put him with Cullen, and Cullen is one of my favourite characters, so I just got like a weird attachment now. Drawing Delibird was interesting, I think because I don't like their design, but then I had this with a lot of Pokemon. I don't like a lot of their normal designs, but drawing them in this simple way made me really like them, and it kind of makes me sad that they don't look this silly, because Delibird kind of freaks me out a bit. Especially, I think there's a new one in one of the new games where he's like a robot Pokemon, and it just is really freaky. Speaking of the new games, here is Sprigatito, and I just realised Unless I'm mistaken, I think they're the only Pokemon from the only new Pokemon from the new games that I've drawn in this. Unless I'm like completely missing like a blatantly obvious one. I think it's the only one from the Scarlet and Violet series. Now that I think about it, I think I was expecting more from those games because they're newer, and I think it brought in a load more fans. And there were some really cute new Pokemon designs. I think I was just expecting them. But I actually, now that I think about it, maybe this cat was chosen because of all the memes around it. I really liked how it turned out. Drawing the Pokemon that look like just cats or dogs are just really fun to draw because, you know, they're relatively easy, so it's just a fun time. Here I am now drawing Articuno, like I mentioned earlier, and I really wanted them to look derpy, which is why they have like just this corn dog looking body, but somehow I end up really liking how it ends up, and I think it's because of the wings. Maybe I really like birds, and lately I've been drawing a lot of birds. Maybe that's it. Maybe I'm just now a bird person. I don't know. Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, I didn't draw any of the other bird legendaries. I don't think Lugia is a bird, so he doesn't count, I don't think. But it might be fun to revisit them just for myself. Maybe I'd share them. I'd probably post them on my Instagram. But like I said, Zapdos is for some reason my favourite. And Moltres used to be when I was younger. But then as I got older and I was like, their design is just like a naked chicken. It's just a naked flesh bird with fire. It kind of freaked me out a little bit. And I still like them, but it is a strange design. Drawing Lapras here was like really nostalgic because Lapras used to be one of my absolute favourites. And it reminded me again, I used to have... I think it was me, maybe it was my friend. We used to have a toy of Lapras. Drawing it here just reminded me of the toy, and it made me really sad because I'm like, there was a point where I just put the toy down and never saw it again, and I'd love to see it. But the problem is, it was so long ago that I genuinely can't even remember what it looked like. If it was just Lapras or if there was like any gimmick to it, because there were like mirrors or fake boxes or something. Mr.Mime here was he was difficult to draw because he freaks me out. I know I've been doing some like clown character stuff recently, and I thought maybe I'd be fine with Mr.Mime, but he still freaks me out. I don't really like him that much. He's just too human, I think, maybe. And I wasn't entirely sure what to do for a pose here, so I tried to make him do something, but it kind of just looks like I broke his arm, so I guess we're just gonna go with that. But his colours, I love his colours. They are very nice together. They're like a soft, warm palette. It's a shame that they are on him. And then we're drawing Totodile, who might be my all-time favourite Pokemon. I couldn't tell you why. I just love Totodile so much. And I've always had an issue drawing him because I've never been able to draw him in a way that I like. So I'm really happy that someone suggested him here again because I really like how this turns out. And it might be my favourite drawing of him ever that I've done. I did draw his second evolution a while ago. Its name escapes me, and I really enjoyed that one as well. Maybe I'll throw it up on the screen if I can remember. Here's Pichu, and I really wanted to give him a giant head because he's one of those cute small characters that I think just look funny. So I kind of wanted to push that a little bit, and yeah, I'm really happy with how he turned out. He looks like he could fall over any second, and that's adorable. Here I'm drawing Oddish. You might have seen in one of my previous videos, my Ohuhu marker pad video, I drew Oddish. That was actually after drawing this one, so they might look a little different, but Oddish is another favourite, and he's just so simple but so fun to draw. and I really love plants in real life, so yeah, that's another reason why I really love Oddish. And I feel like I kind of made him look like a turnip or something. I'm not entirely sure. Moving on to Weavile? What is this one called? I can't remember. They're another one that is like not a favourite Pokemon of mine. Their design kind of, I don't know why, I just don't like it. But for some reason how I drew them here, is another one that I just really love. And I'm thinking it must be, I think it gives me Midna vibes from Twilight Princess. That has to be it. There's something like sinister but playful about them, and it makes me like the Pokemon. And maybe I should finally catch one, because I've never had one in any of the games. Oh, this is Jigglypuff, isn't it? Is that right? Jigglypuff. Yes, this is because she sings her name. This one was funny because it's just a ball. It's kind of like Kirby almost. And it looks so dramatic, especially with the lighting. And I somehow managed to give them like a weird facial expression, considering they've just got 2 lines for eyes. And then I'm drawing Corviknight. They were tricky because they are quite well, they're detailed. They're not that detailed, but it's details that I was like, I don't know how I'm going to draw this in a cute way, because they are like a metallic bird. And I think it ends up okay. I was struggling with the colours, like if I should add more colours, but then I didn't want to overcomplicate it. And I think it's one of the ones that stands out from not feeling like it fits in with all the other Pokemon as much. And maybe I just need to simplify it more again. I'm not really sure how I could fix it, but yeah, that's Corviknight. So this is a Hisuian Typhlosion. Like I think I mentioned earlier, I didn't get the Legends of Arceus game, so a lot of the Hisuian variations are kind of foreign to me. I think I saw there was a really cool Arcanine one that was meant to look like, I think they're all Japanese inspired, aren't they? Or folklore based. I'm not entirely sure if I'm just saying words. But Typhlosion here was quite fun to do because they just looked so sleepy. It's something about the ear position, they just look so cute. And I like the original Typhlosion anyway, but it's nice to see a variation where I like both versions, so that was fun. Sableye here was difficult to draw because they have diamonds for eyes, and I kind of didn't want to lose that, so it kind of just looks like I've drawn Sableye. Sableye is one that I used to like a lot when I was younger as well, because my brother and I would play the games, and I would have one version and he would have the other. And I can't remember what generation they were in, but he had Sableye and I had, is it Mawile or something? And we would always catch them and swap them so that we could have them, and for some reason, maybe it was the limitedness that he had them and I didn't, made me love Sableye, which is weird because he's just like a gem goblin. And then here's Oshawott, who is very cute, but I just don't like his evolutions, and I know I'm going to upset a lot of people, but I'm not a huge fan of the black and white games, so I'm really sorry. Those starters and those Pokemon just don't do anything for me. Drawing Snorlax here, I thought he would be really cute if he was just like a big blob, and he does look cute, but he looks like he just has no shape, so I don't know, maybe that was a good thing, maybe it wasn't, but he's Snorlax, you know? Now another legendary, this one is Jirachi, and Jirachi is an interesting one because I love their design, I think they are adorable, but the movie with Jirachi Jirachi is so annoying that it kind of it puts a stain on just Jirachi in general, and I like to pretend that in the games or whatever, Jirachi isn't actually like that, and that's just like, I think it's meant to be the only one out there, but I like to think it's just a weird version of Jirachi, and that's not what they're like, because look at the design, it's so cute. I just love how it looks, and I think the like blue tags are meant to be like ritual tags or something. That's the vibe I get. I don't know if that is true, but they look so cute. And now moving on to Raichu, who is another one that I was worried about drawing, but I end up loving how they look. I think it's because the initial body shape is just like a weird bean shape, and if I get the bean shape right, I'm likely to like the Pokemon, and I just really love how it looks here. I didn't draw Pikachu in this video because I drew them in the previous video that I mentioned earlier, but drawing Raichu kind of made me wish that I had, because I think they would look really cute together. Who's this? Psyduck! He is another one of my Pokemon loves. When I was younger, didn't like him that much, and then I think my mum or someone bought me this toy that I still have, thankfully. I don't know, maybe it was because I saw him every day, but at some point I just realised that I love Psyduck, and for a long time he was my favourite, but then Totodile kind of came in and pushed him aside. But Psyduck is, I love him so much. He's so cute and just simple. Maybe that's it, but yeah, he's close second to Totodile. And then I don't really bother ranking most of the other Pokemon because it's just too difficult, because like here's Ponyta, and I love Ponyta too, and Rapidash like I mentioned earlier, so I don't think there's any point trying to rank them past those two, because those two are super obvious. I would be curious to know what your guys' favourites are, like your top 5 or something, or if that's like something you can't do like me because there's like too many of them that you like. Here is it Shaman, I think? This is another one where it's kind of like a cute design, but the movie or episode or whatever they had just made them really annoying for some reason. I don't know why they do that, because like I'm supposed to be rooting for the Pokemon, so why would you make them annoying? But this is an interesting design. Is this Pokemon considered a legendary? I can't remember, but it's cute. It's like one of the simpler designs you see for a legendary, if they are one. And I like it because it's a plant and you can make it look weird. But yeah, I just wish they weren't annoying. Chikorita here is another one that I was mixed on when I was younger, and I think I'm still mixed on, because while it is a kind of cute idea, what is it? Oh, and then I saw like a horrible video of like it not horrible, but it was someone made an animation or something of like cutting it open like a celery or something, not a celery, but like one of those turnip plant things, and it was horrible, and now I can't think of it any other way. I always think of that when I think of Chikorita now, and it just makes me upset. Yeah, here is Ivysaur. No, Venusaur? Man, I get them so confused. This is the second one for Bulbasaur, and yeah, he's basically just Bulbasaur but with a bigger plant on his back. Drawing Dialga here was another one I was worried about. He is quite a more complicated design, and I think he ends up simplified enough. I think I maybe succeed, but yeah, I always had Diamond when I would play these games, so he was quite nice to see, especially since I think, isn't Pearl considered the more popular one? So it was nice to see people say Dialga, or is it Dialga? Here's the problem, all their names are so, you could say them in any way, and I don't actually know what the proper way to say them is. How do you say Dialga? Is it Dialga? I don't really know. I think Dialga was the one that actually took the longest, I'm not sure. Now I am drawing, is it Mega Hetterene? In Sword and Shield, whatever the big version of the Pokemon are. Is it Hetterene? Anyway, they're a Pokemon that I always really liked, but it wasn't until a while ago. Like, I've known this for a while now, but it wasn't until ages ago when I was drawing them, and it's the thing of when you draw them and you look at the details, you realise weird things about them. They're just a weird little guy that's like hanging by the head inside of a body. It's like it's piloting it from the head area, and it's so weird and it's so funny, and that might be part of why I like it so much, because it's so weird. This was interesting. I don't know that I'd ever seen this version of Hetterene before, although it is very simple when you think about it. It's just 3 strands coming from the hat, but I was like concerned that I was going to do it wrong, you know, all that. Now on to Giratina, who is a design that I personally just am not that fond of. So another one that I was worried about messing up, and it basically just looks like Giratina at the end of it, but it's not sharp, it's like soft. I did just want to mention in this video that we reached 30,000 subscribers on this YouTube channel a little while ago, which is crazy, and I just wanted to say a huge thank you. I would like to do a video at some point. I've been planning on doing a draw this in your style for a while now, and I think that would be like a great way to do it. So I will be working on that soon. The problem is I have actually got a few projects going on at the moment as well, so it might be a little late. Like this video and another video is already way later than I planned it to, because like I did this ages ago and just things have been getting in the way, so I'm really sorry about that, first off. But secondly, yeah, the draw this in your style, I really want to do it as a way to say thank you guys for all of your amazing support on this channel, and over on Instagram too. And so yeah, I really just want to do a draw this in your style challenge at some point, and I will probably make a video based around it as well, as a proper way of saying thank you. So hopefully I'll be able to do that soon and you guys can see that. So now I am drawing Mega Banette, which is Banette again basically. And yeah, this one, maybe this is the design I was thinking of, as I was saying earlier when I remembered Banette having more complicated design or something. I'm thinking it must have been this one, because this one just looks more interesting. Yeah, it was fun to draw. So now I am drawing Minun, who is adorable, but unfortunately there is no Plusle? I don't know how to say the other one. I can't remember what it is. So he's just sad, standing by himself. He kind of just looks like he has like a distant stare in his eye. What is it, like the 1,000-yard stare or something? And then drawing Spinder, I wanted them to look like, you know, they were dizzy wobbling around. I don't think I pushed it far enough, so they just look like they're standing or posing really weird. For some reason, I made the legs really chunky, and I think if I'd made them thinner like the arms, it would have come across more. But they were adorable. I think they're a really cute Pokemon. Next is, it's not Buizel, is it like Diggersby or something? The name threw me off because I was expecting a different Pokemon, so when I looked up the reference and saw this guy, I won't lie, I was like, oh god, not this. He's one of those designs where I'm like, what is this? But really happy with how he turned out, because I just drew him as this simple little guy in this weird like tube jumper thing, and I actually think he's adorable now. I still don't like the original so much, but this version that I've done here has definitely made me hate him a little less, because he's a bunny, but his ears are arms. And then here I am drawing Dreepy. This, he was one of the very first ones suggested, along with Dragapult. And I initially wasn't going to do him because I was only going to do one per person. But then I was like, after I decided I was going to do all of them, I was like, okay, I'll leave him till there is space. And so he is one of the last ones that I draw. And he turned out really cute, and it was really nice to end it on a more simpler one. And then I had a couple spaces left to fill, so I decided to fill them with one from my brother and one from me. So he wanted Arbok, which is what I'm drawing here. And the problem is, because I drew them at the size to fill the space, the line art is very, the line thickness is very different, so they do stand out a little bit more as being slightly chunkier, but they fill the spaces better. So yeah, I drew Shroomish for me, although also my brother, because he loves Shroomish as well. But Shroomish is just like one of those Pokemon who I just adore, and then their evolution Breloom is just like overpowered, so I love them so much. They're another one of my favorites. They would be up there in my top whatever. But yeah, finally that is it. That is all of them done. I think it was 92 or 93 Pokemon. So I've got them here. I've got the ones I did in my sketchbook that look very spaced out now that I've done it on my tablet. And I really like how these look. I'm happy they are in my book. And then I've got them here as well. And you can see as I went on that they just started cramming up the pages more. I think when I was on this one filling it, I remembered this one being as crammed, but now looking at them, it's very different. I also then went ahead and stuck them in my book so that I could remember them. So now I've just got this little fold out of them, and there's just so many Pokemon. Yeah. So yeah, I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who suggested a Pokemon. This was such a fun challenge to do, and it was tiring, but I think I really want to do another one like it again in the future. I want to thank you if you made it to this far in the video. This has been a long one, so thank you so much for sticking with me. And then I want to say a huge thank you to my Patreons: Ispe, Megan Palmer, Grimclow, Non-Toxic, Saint Nix, LP, Kira May, Kay, Annabelle, Joanna, Sir Studalot, Mila, VB, Pretty Rotten, Crescent Frog, Joanna Snake Moon, Humble Frogs, Local Fishkeeper, Mould Ghoul, Art Mancy, Farrar Ware, Sun Arts, Flake, Molly Marula, Hannah Anderson, Sammy Bear 127, Kenzania, and Jade S. Thank you guys so much for your support. I really appreciate you guys, and hopefully I should have another video out soon, and I will see you then.